Still you say this one is ready. Still I say she is not.
Yaddle has achieved unity with the Force. She has proven herself.
Too old to resume the life of a Padawan she is. Too much anger. A Jedi must complete her training. Another master she needs.
There is no need for her to resume that life. She has completed her journey. We are here to discuss her knighthood, not further tests.
Concerned am I.
I, for one, wish to hear her account once more.
Do you mind if I recount your ordeal for the Council?
No. Mind I do not.
Over 200 years ago, the Jedi Knight Koban was summoned to liberate the colonies from the Alvas warlock Tulak. He had intended to enlist the aid of the small resistance movement, but had been betrayed by traitors within before he had even reached Koba's outer moon. Cut and his young apprentice Yaddle had no sooner arrived on Koba when they were ambushed. Tulak had come up against us more than once and harbored a deep-seated hatred for the Jedi. He used the pacifistic Kobans to lay a trap for Povan. Cut and Yaddle battled their assailants bravely. Povan wasn't impervious to the dark side. He had been pursuing Tulak, the villain who had murdered his family, for decades. Revenge clouded his judgment, his reactions, and he paid the price that day in the Koban Gorge.
Now, once again, my dear girl, when will the next Jedi Knight come to challenge me? Where are they now?
Tell you I will not. Your hold over these people will end by your own hand. Rule by terror you do. Die by fear you will.
You didn't answer my question. You know what kind of reward that earns, Jedi whelp. Oh, I'm sorry. You're not going to be a Jedi now, are you? Your teacher is retired. Even if you are of no use as an informant, you will still make a fine hostage. If you won't scream, the least you could do is whimper.
He's had enough of you. He's had enough of the whole planet.
What mean you?
Tulak has taken all there is to take. He has enslaved all there are to enslave. He is preparing to make his way to another world.
Then you are free.
No. His marshals will continue to watch over us.
And me?
You are to be permanently interred. You are to be sealed in the pit. I'm sorry.
All attempts to break her will had yielded nothing. Tulak had failed to strike at us by exploiting the Padawan's youthful naivety, as he had intended. He decided not to execute her, but keep her imprisoned, lest she eventually break or become valuable as a hostage in the future. With thoughts of her usefulness abandoned, Tulak soon forgot about the young apprentice of Povan Cut. Following Tulak's departure, the citizens was forced to act as Yaddle's warden. Some became sadistic, often taunting her in order to curry favor with the warlord's marshal. And thus began the centuries of Yaddle's confinement.
Life was hard in prison for young Yaddle. Disagree I do not, but lessons from her Jedi Master were incomplete. Lived life in solitude, she did.
As did you, Yoda. You yourself left your village family for a solitary existence. You became a hermit, even by Jedi standards.
My training was complete. Hers is not.
During her many years of isolation, she relived the lessons of her late master over and over again. She embraced and eventually achieved unity with the Force. She went on her own inner journey. Her wardens provided her with food and water for a time, but showed little mercy beyond that. Tulak had plundered the planet so thoroughly that the civilization reverted to a primitive state. The business of survival became so brutal that the prisoner was all but forgotten. A century passed. There were legends of the one below, and a few Pentians continued to provide provisions to the shaft as a kind of sacrament. She taught herself the art of combat by defending herself from her predators. Her survival demanded it. The Force made it possible. Decades passed, escape was impossible, and Yaddle had come to peace with herself. When fate stepped in and commuted her sentence, massive tectonic shifts in the planet's mantle had begun to cause powerful quakes worldwide. The impoverished population was ill-prepared to deal with this season of disaster, and watched helplessly as the sparse remains of their once glorious civilization came crashing down around their ears. When at last she emerged from her prison, her relief was short-lived. Once her eyes adjusted to the daylight, Yaddle saw misery and destruction all about her. What the famine and plague had not completely decimated over the ages, the quakes had. She had long ago forgiven the previous generations of Koban who had been her jailers, as she looked on in horror at the suffering that was Tulak's legacy for this wretched world. She provided help to the Kobans where she could, even, or perhaps I should say especially, when it meant embracing those who at one time been her tormentors. As the Koban struggled to restore their society, Yaddle chose to remain with him. When I learned of her escape, I invited her to visit us on Coruscant to resume her training. She declined, insisting that her work with the Koban citizens remained unfinished. The work was arduous. Their technological resources had been all but depleted by Tulak and planetary catastrophes. But Yaddle's dedication spirit inspired the people to rebuild their world. They would become a prosperous people once more. Even the monument bridge where Polvin Cut lost his life was reconstructed and named for Yaddle's Jedi Master. She had become a heroine to the Kobans, but she refused to accept any honors. Her work with the children was the only reward she sought. She was content to be a teacher. She believed that her battles were behind her, and that they had been won without celebration, in the best tradition of the Jedi. But she was wrong.
We're entering orbit, sir.
Finally! Gunnery! Target the capital village. This will be my fanfare of sorts. I want those insects to know that I've come to claim my inheritance. Fire!
Tulak had bequeathed the planet to his oldest son, Kalut. The heir to Adva's warlords, plundered worlds, was making a tour of his father's estate, and had finally reached Koba. Kalut was more ruthless than his father, and intended to take whatever was worth taking. His arrival heralded another dark era for the people of Koba. The question was whether they would be willing to fight for their world this time, and who will lead them.
Yet another of my father's pathetic heirloom planets. It's hardly worth the effort. It makes me feel like a scavenger.
Perhaps that's what Tulak wanted.
Perhaps, but that's not for you to say. Now, have the crew go through the village and determine what's worthwhile. This is sad. Even the population is exhausted. Not a decent slave in the lot. Well, well. At least there are some trinkets to be had.
Get away from us, you scum!
Return the amulet, you will. Leave this planet, you must.
Who dares?
The old being.
The one below. Yaddle!
I know you. My father told me about the ugly little Jedi gnome he left on this world.
If you leave now, no harm will come. Warned you I did. Told your father. Your hold over these people will end by your own hand. Die in fear you will.
She finished the work of her master Povin. Can there be any doubt that she has earned the title of Jedi Master?
Doubt I will always have. Strict Jedi tradition this is not. But the path to the dark side is not one Yaddle will travel, I think. The council speaks with many voices. I am but one. To the fold, you are welcome.